Ships or no ships? That's been the question for the past week as reports swirl.
Russian ship was on its way to Syria.
According to the reports, the battleships were laden with arms and troops and headed for Syria. It later turned out they were nowhere near Syria. They're in their home port of Sevastopol, empty. But in the fog of war, any report, however inaccurate, has some kind of influence.
As long as you have so many forces excited about the war option, there is that danger always. Yes, they will spread it. They'll get there through disinformation as usual, through like they did before the Iraq War and before intervening in Afghanistan in the late 70s. Also, they always rely on some disinformation.
There was one ship. It was turned back off the coast of Scotland after it was found to be carrying helicopter parts bound for Syria. Cue assertions that Russia was supplying combat helicopters to President Assad.
We are concerned about the latest information we have that there are attack helicopters on the way from Russia to Syria, which will escalate the conflict quite dramatically.
It's an allegation that Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov says is part of a propaganda campaign.
The ship which is being discussed these days indeed was carrying air defense systems, and it was carrying 3 helicopters which have been repaired in Russia under the contract signed in 2008. Those are Soviet helicopters and they have been in Syria from Soviet days. And in 2008 there was a contract to repair them. They are still to be assembled, you know, when they are delivered they have to be assembled and the entire process will take not less than 3 months. So to speak about something which we just sold to Syria and which is being used in action is not true at all.
It wasn't only ships. Apparently war games were planned too. Iranian news agency Fars reported that Iran, Russia, China and Syria are planning to conduct joint military exercises in Syria next month. Analysts think the story was planted by Syria or Iran as a show of strength, but that US outlets took it up because it suited them.
All the Western news agencies love the story because it matches their narrative that the Syrian regime and its supporters in Iran or Russia, China, are the bad guys in this battle, and they are the ones who are escalating the conflict instead of seeking a peaceful solution. So they like the story, even though they really pay attention to Iranian news agencies.
Then there's the war of words. British Prime Minister David Cameron came out of a meeting with President Putin at the recent G20 summit, saying Putin no longer wanted President Assad in power in Syria. Russia's foreign ministry later denied that was Putin's position. But was it a case of lost in translation, wishful thinking on the Prime Minister's part, or another attempt to exert pressure on Russia?
The last 15 months has been a media attack on Syria. The crisis, the Syrian crisis, is 70% in media, 30% on the ground. So there is quite a lot of stories every day, like for some Arab stations like Jazeera and others using YouTubes, and there is no confirmed reports anymore.